Hello everyone, my name is Steven Zapata, greatest living draftsman, and I've got a new course out, Design Fundamentals. It's meant to help you understand design on a comprehensive and principled level and show you how to run projects that build skills and contribute to a portfolio. Maybe you want to be a concept artist, an illustrator, a fine artist, or just the most badass hobbyist on your block. Whatever you want to do with art, if you ever want to do anything vaguely original, you need to understand design. You need a process and a mental framework for getting to something new rather than just copying what you've seen before or photos of stuff that already exists. If you do want to improve at design, that process, that mental framework, it does exist. It's based on the principles of design, and I've spent the past year, wait, is it more than a year? Oh my God, this took forever. I've spent the past whatever putting this course together, full of my insights into the elements of art and the principles of design. Across 10 assignments in this course, you will be concepting your own imagined video game. You'll come up with the overall idea, you'll pick a theme, you'll write a treatment, and you'll design assets that give you a chance to practice all these new concepts. And at the end, all of these individual assignments come together into a cohesive final image. When I designed this syllabus, I wanted to make the course I wish I had taken back in my first year of school. And I did. If I was asked to teach Design 1 at Art Center today, I would just play these videos as my lectures, and this is the same cohesive, practical, fun assignment I would make the students do all semester. Also, just like a college course, everyone gets my feedback on all 10 assignments. In the exclusive course community, you can post your work to get feedback from me and your peers, and there's even a video workroom that's always open so you can hang out together while you work. So if you're interested, go to zapatacourses.com/designfundamentals and check it out. And I will see you on the other side of the mystical gateway of design. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. I have to fix my filters. And all this, my usual stuff turned off for reasons. Testing. Am I loud enough? How do I sound? Am I loud enough? Sound normal? Sound like I always do? Ah, Steven, sounding very normal. Hello to GGKKGGEAN. Engine Can Ure. Yuri Huang. Honorable. This is Happy New Year, Steven. It's time for first drawing session of the year along your live stream. That's right, baby. Doing it. Drink Water says, ahoy! Ahoy, mateys. Yuri says, another great year of drawing ahead. That's right. Dana, hello, Dana. Last stream was the 22nd. Let's honor some patrons. Many thanks to Lunar Dio, Mutt Bowl, Dream Okashi, Andreas Mickelbust, and of course, the legendary Big Balls. Once again, thank you to Big Balls, Andreas Mickelbust, Dream Akashi, Mutt Bowl, and Lunar Dio for supporting the channel. They become patrons on the Patreon since the last stream. And all patrons who become patrons on the Patreon need to be honored, respected. We need to call them out. We need to tell them we love them. And we need to say thank you so much for making what we do here possible. And what do we do here? We draw, we rant, we talk about drawing, we explore philosophy that has nothing to do with drawing. And on this stream, at least, it's the rare study stream. Not really, only temporarily. I've got the itch to do a little figure drawing from some references. So I'm just gonna start here today, doing some little gestures, some little explorations. I have references pulled up, which I will not show you because I don't want to get banned on YouTube. But they are just typical figure drawing references. And then what will we do after this? I will tell you. I wanted to do some ideation for a, I was asked to put some work in a book that's coming out. I don't want to give too many details because I don't know if I'm allowed at this point, but it could be that it's possible for me to just put past work in the book, and I probably will. I have to submit a few pieces, and some of it will be past work that fits the theme, but I do want to, I always like taking the opportunity to make some new stuff. So I was thinking about brainstorming for a couple new sketches I could submit for the book. And since I haven't done any work towards that, I thought maybe I would start on the word web ideations on stream. I got to keep it a little general because, like I said, I don't know how much I'm supposed to be saying yet, but oops, I forgot to start the timer. But for now, we'll do some studies. Little Lockman and Driftwood. Driftwood says, happy Saturday, happy Saturday. Hello, Lockman. It's been a while since I streamed. You ever go live on stream and realize that you were supposed to eat lunch before stream and that you completely forgot to do it? So now you're going to be hungry on stream? You ever do that? You have to be streaming. Nobody. Hi, nobody. I need these drawing sessions to cope with this new era of political terror. We're all in it. That's what art's good for, man. Helping you get through the craziness. You do it. You sink into art. Hello, have you ever been disconnected from art? How would you cope with it? Not for any very extended period of time, but sometimes you're just not vibing with it, and that's all right. How would I cope with it? Well, it's difficult for me to say because, like I said, I've never been away from it for a very long time. You know, I know some people, they move away from their art for like years sometimes, you know. When I've been disconnected, it's for like, you know, maybe a month. That's probably the longest it's ever been. So it's a little hard for me to say. It probably scales though. The main piece of advice I would give is you're probably disconnecting from it and burning out from it because you had bad motivations. 99 times out of 100, that's what is doing it to people. So investigate your motivations, find out why they were bad, why you're no longer motivated by them, why you're disconnected, why they were probably shallow and unsustainable, and correct it, which almost always involves re-engineering a greater interest in your own work and the things that you love, and de-emphasizing the expectations of others, bad expectations that you put on yourself, things like that. I really should have set these for 5 minutes instead of 2. When you're talking at the same time, 2 is just not enough. Grotesque has been watching your videos for about a month. Nice. Welcome. And it's your first time catching a stream. Welcome, Grotesque. Welcome. Welcome to the stream. Join us at the hearth. Tell us your tales. Happy New Year's, One Wing Talk. One Wing Talk. User, unseasonal seasons greetings, y'all. Yes, unseasonal seasons greetings. I'm gonna reset these to 5 minutes. Nope, but I want to change the time. Here we go. Ripside says, Steven, I found a cool book for the design project called The Sense of Unity. It goes into detail about the functional but metaphysical and symbolic aspects of Persian architecture. You might like it. Sounds cool. Sufi tradition. I like it. It's by Nader Ardalan. Is that the right one? Hello, Planet for Weirdos. Cool says, I'm glad I found your videos. I'm glad you found them too. I am. Drinkwater says, Steven, are you into photography? Either looking at it or doing it or both? I'd have to say no. I mean, I do look, I spend a lot of time looking at photography, but less for the artistic like qualities of photography itself and more for reference and stuff like that. I love good photography when it's like perfect for drawing, or you know, it really helps me understand like what an alligator looks like, you know. But the more artsy side of photography, yeah, I guess I've never really gotten into it. I've definitely been impressed by, you know, some of the biggest, most famous stuff, the classic stuff like Ansel Adams or something like that. I've definitely been impressed by that. I know a bit about cameras and like how they work just from videography stuff. That I know a bit more of than photography. Cinematography. I think I definitely, I'm similarly ignorant there, like a very lay person's level of understanding about cinematography, but I'd say I'm more interested in cinematography than photography. Photography. Hello, Artos. Artos says, haven't seen you live for 2 years probably. Wow. It's been a long time. Where have you been? Because I've been around a lot in the past 2 years and how could you have missed so many? Seriously, glad to have you here. Pivot says, Happy New Year. Speaking of cinematography, what are some of your favorite films? As I always say on here, I'm not great with favorites, you know? Thinking of favorites always just makes me think of what I've seen recently. I saw recently One Battle After Another, the new Paul Thomas Anderson movie with Leonardo DiCaprio. I really liked it. I really liked it. I thought it was very funny. It had me and my wife laughing a lot. What other movies have I seen recently that stuck with me that I really loved? I watched the I forget the name. I watched the Werner Herzog documentary about the bear guy. Why did this session... Okay, my Session glitched out. Only showed me one picture and then ended. All right, let me make sure this one's gonna actually do it. Okay. What's the Werner Herzog movie? Is it called Bear? Is it just called Bear Man or something like that? It's a shame I can't, after watching a whole documentary about the guy, I can't remember that guy's name. That's definitely a sign of the decline of our mental faculties in this social media era. But that was a great movie. That was a great movie. I love that thing. I've thought about that a lot. Grizzly Man. That's right, not Bear Man, Grizzly Man. Yeah, I'm just about done with I'm pretty sure that my phone and social media are absolutely contributing to my ability to watch a whole movie, really like it. Even if it's I can't remember the name of the movie, just a few weeks later. I guess maybe it was a couple months ago, but a few weeks later, can't remember the name of the subject of the documentary. Can't you remember the name of the movie? Get that wrong? That's not good. I am every day, people, every day. I'm on the verge of just deleting my Instagram, getting rid of it, getting rid of all my socials. I'm one bad day away, I swear to God. I am one bad day away. And I can't just not use it. I need the extreme move of deleting it, of getting completely rid of it. I'm very close. They need to be gone. The youths, they don't have this problem. They're all getting rid of their social media. They're going to get rid of their phones. I need to be on the right side of history of this one. I can't be caught up with the rest of the millennials, just like incapable of deleting this stuff. Getting rid of it. I'm surprised you haven't already. It really doesn't align with me, but it's so hard. It's so hard to delete. It's not the I cannot look at the feeds and all that, and I actually have or for the most part, I cannot look at the feeds. And I actually have used like plugins and stuff that get rid of the feed and stuff like that. But I keep coming back because of the DMs. And I gotta rip away from it. Like I can't bring myself to delete it because of industry brain. I don't know how else to put it. It's just like I have a lot of connections on there. It's the typical bullshit. I have a lot of connections on there, very big people, quote unquote, right? And amazingly, I can message these people and they respond. And that's a very hard thing to give up, you know? It's a very hard thing to give up. But I'm going to. The first day I'm brave enough to do it, I'll do it and there'll be no going back. It's just gonna come down to acceptance that yeah, you're just not gonna get to talk to all these cool people, and you know, the world's full of people that you're not gonna talk to, so that's all right. And I don't have it nearly so bad as so many people. You can chat with Messi? I said industry brain. It's industry people, art people. Anirudh says, chat, notice how Steven's trying to hide his aging memory decline and blaming it on social media? I always own up to being an old bastard on here. I know I'm old. Ain't no hiding it. The youth won't let me forget it. Body don't work, brain don't work. But I don't think age is enough to explain this. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Everybody's still saying Happy New Year. Tiamatandal says, Stephen, you once talked about a meditation book that you read from your sister. It was somewhat unhinged, if I'm not mistaken. What was the title and author? Well, it's not unhinged. It's a very... Well, the only one I could think of from my sister would be Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now. That's one of the most famous spiritual crossing into modern self-help kind of a books in recent memory. I mean, that book is legendary. But it's not unhinged. I mean, as weird as it is to say things like there is no self and, you know, the possibility of mystical union with the Godhead and things like that, those are... It is incorrect to view things like that as unhinged. They're like the oldest claims in history, you know. There is no free will. There is no self. You're not the one driving the ship. You are not your thoughts. It's like these thoughts can only seem scandalous if you're not aware how much they have pervaded all of history and all of spiritual and mystical traditions. Like they're the oldest thoughts around. Cool says, do you offer classes? First time catching your stream, so I figured I'd ask. I have 2 courses. I have Form from Imagination and Design Fundamentals. Those are asynchronous classes. So if you get the feedback version of those, it's a lot of pre-recorded, there's pre-recorded content that is sort of the didactic information. And again, if you got the feedback version, you also get feedback on all of the assignments. So those I'm running all the time. That's just open enrollment. Whenever you want, you buy the course, you start posting your assignments whenever you want. I have links to those in the description. More traditional classes, like live with me, I do those. Those are my workshops, but those are not regularly scheduled. I was actually just on with my last workshop class, getting some feedback from them. But the last time I did one was over a year ago. So it wasn't this past December. It was the year before that. So, but it was even before that. I mean, December is when it ended. So it's been over a year since I did one of the workshops. And I might do one this year, but I haven't scheduled that yet. If you want like technical advice from a class, my courses are the way to go. That's the best way to get technical training and technical input from me. The workshops are more about the spiritual side, the mind game of being an artist. The workshops are more for people who are struggling less with technical stuff and more who have mental things that they need to explore and fix in their practice. Art angst, lack of direction. No, that's not right. Restructure this. Can I walk and chew gum at the same time? That is always the question. Do 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 do. Ever since all you guys told me that you all love hearing my dogs bark, it makes me feel so much more relaxed when they bark. I don't care anymore. Now when they bark, I think, Stream loves it. They wish the dogs were barking all the time. It's great. Have you tried Mitsubishi graphite pencils? Yes, but as I always say on here, there is almost no actual difference between pencils. To me, paper matters 1,000 times more. You can get almost any effect you need from any pencil. It may not feel nice to you, you may not like the texture of a particular pencil, but there's very, very little actual exclusion of this is a pencil that can't do something else, that's something that another pencil can do. Paper, there's things that you just can't do on cheap paper. Paper makes a much bigger difference than the pencil. I just use whatever pencil feels right for me at the time. I'm constantly switching them. I don't have any brand loyalty or anything like that to pencils. They're all basically the same. You may fall in love with one and draw with only that for a while, but eventually you'll start getting a little taste for something different. Let me see. I'm seeing a lot of questions. Hard when social media is our work, for sure, says the Art of Austin Mengler. Yeah, it's very difficult for me to give up the socials when, if I had all these people's emails and I knew they'd respond there, it'd be different. But it's just, I don't know. It's like you wind up getting such a network there. And then if that's where people are inclined to respond, it's hard to delete. Yeah. Steven, do you like watercolor? Yes. Papa John says, hey, Steven, I'm pretty new to drawing and I'm struggling with using less lines, but it's pretty damn hard. Any tips for this? Drawing with just ink for a while usually helps people excise that particular problem. I put away all the pencils for maybe a week, 2 weeks, and you don't have to be locked up with it. Just sketch with ink, and that usually helps people be more definitive. What has been the worst advice that you've gotten? Nothing comes to mind. I've probably just thrown it all out over the years. I don't even remember it. Just seeing if anything comes to mind. Bad advice. No. I've heard a lot of bad advice, but I can't think of any particular case of someone giving me, in particular, bad advice. No, we are not talking about goblins yet, Lucius. Hi, Mel. I'm doing well. I hope you're doing well as well. Big says, what would the workshop cover if you did one this year? The workshops are very, they're individual. It's difficult to say what they cover. The usual experience of workshop, and it could always change, right? But the usual experience is the beginning of workshop is an invocation for you to go for your dream, like your dream pictures, and to take that project seriously. And I open the door for everybody in the workshop to do completely different things, and they do. Some people try to make a book. Some people try to do a set of illustrations. Some people want to design something. Some people try to do an animation. It's completely open-ended. And I don't strictly structure how people go through it, right? Like some people wish, it's not the thing to take if what you're looking for is like a deep engagement with homework. The workshop's not good for that. The workshop is, it's like, rather than me giving you assignments, I want to coach you through how you're going to give yourself assignments. My goal as a teacher in the workshop is to coach someone through running their own project for themselves, most of the time for the first time. And my coaching is hopefully a way for me to impart onto them a new internal monologue, like a new program to run in their internal monologue that shows them how to guide themselves through a project and what to think about. And the space of workshop is very revelatory for finding the places where your motivation collapses in on itself. You stop caring about the project. You put expectations on yourself for no reason. It's a very unique environment for that because the workshop is not happening at a school or something like that, and because there is no final deliverable. It gives us this very unique opportunity where if your motivation collapsed, if you got lost in the sauce, it's because you failed to self-motivate, and then we can investigate why did your motivation, why did your interest collapse at that particular moment. And it's not about disappointing me or not getting a grade or now you're not going to get your degree. It's like none of that stuff exists there. So it very much purifies the situation, and it makes it much easier for us to pull out where the bad motivations are and things like that. If it sounds heady and complicated, it's because it is. I mean, honestly, it's such a difficult thing to explain, and even the people who take the workshop sometimes struggle to explain it. But in a lot of ways, it's the only way to get to these insights, very important insights. The Tanga Mandabium says, what have you noticed your students struggling the most with drawing? They don't know what they want to do. That's the number one problem. It's always been the number one problem. Most technical issues you can make significant progress on with just a week of application, but the perennial problem is having the desire to create something, and that is just a structureless force inside of you, and you don't know how to direct it. You just don't know how to keep it functional. You don't know how to work with it. You don't know what you want your art to be. You're just totally scattered. And so you can't aim all of this effort that you're going to do anyway into a focused direction. And usually if you do have a focused direction, it's because someone else gave it to you and you're just like cleaving to that. And if you had to do your own thing, you just have no idea what it would be. And of course, naturally, when someone else gives you all your motivations, that's flimsy. Eventually it crumbles. And then when it crumbles, people are left out to drift. They have no idea what to do. Hey, Art Dad. R2 says, I recently saw scans of the Book of Kells. The level of artistry there blows my mind. How were medieval masters so skilled without YouTube tutorials? How indeed, detectives. I'll tell you this. The current paradigm, the zeitgeist paradigm for how people think you improve at art, hate to blow your mind, but is culturally contingent. It's not real. People have improved at art in every kind of goddamn way for thousands of years. No one actually knows what makes someone improve at art. No one actually knows what art is. Because no one knows, they can't know how you actually get better at it. Cue the messages that say, bullshit. Bullshit, I know good art when I see it. Bullshit, there is a good art. It's a psyop. Don't listen to those people. If they had it their way, we'd all be in Russian academies. Isn't it funny that all of the people who say there's objectively good art can't agree on what it is? It's almost like that wouldn't be possible if there was objectively good art. I gotta eat a freaking trail mix bar, even though what I should be eating is lunch. Why do you use brown for sketching? Any reason or just cause? Just cause. It is closer to the natural, like the natural values of skin tones, but any color works. The Tonga Mandapim says, good art is my art. That's right. That is the answer. Sir Bob says, do you notice nobody asks what brush you are using anymore? It's true. I think that means that I've curated my audience well. Frank Williams says, please rant more about academic art schools. I'm currently in one and every day trying to figure out if I should keep doing it or not. It's perfectly fine to be in an academic setting to gain the skill set that you want. But what happens in a lot of those settings is that they then start spreading bad philosophy. They won't just teach the skills. They also have really an ideology or dogma around the skills. Now, the best ones have teachers who have been doing this for a very long time, and those teachers know that that's all stuff that should be carried lightly and that it's all kind of bullshit. In the best case scenario, that it's just a game that everyone in the school is playing. In the worst case scenario, these people have really drank the Kool-Aid and they're trying to make people who also believe the dogma or the ideology. Even that environment, it is totally fine to be there to get those skills from those people. Steal their skills from them. Just don't drink the Kool-Aid. They can't make you lie if you have to. I don't know, to tell them, yeah, I believe you, but just don't actually believe them. on the dogma and ideology stuff. It's like they didn't actually think about it that much. They're just parroting their gut desire to be right about art. They're acting on their gut desire to be right about art and parroting what their teachers said before them. They didn't think about it. Anybody who thinks about it for any serious amount of time and learns about art history and different cultural movements and art movements, they all get down to a core truth, which is that there's nothing objective to be said about art. You know, there's no such thing as art. They're only artists, right? And the subjective opinions of individual artists. Stephen, do you ever suffer from task paralysis? I'm not sure what that means. Is that when you feel you have too much on your plate? I feel like I'm more inclined to get things done when there's too much on my plate, and I'm less inclined to get things done when there's very little on my plate, personally. I find there being a lot to do very motivational. All right, I'm going to stop doing these sketches here in a little bit. These studies, I mean, and switch to doing more creative sketches. I mean, 52 minutes of studies? That's 52 minutes too many in my book. We've gone way over the daily quota of 0. Mm-hmm. 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 Hello, Chady. All right, I'm going to stop studying there. I'm going to farm you guys for some associations for some stuff. So I want to put some work together to some themes for a frickin' thing. All right, dreams and nightmares. What do you guys think of? I'm always much more inclined towards nightmares. Feel free to throw out whatever. Word association style. I'm gonna start with nightmares. For nightmares, anxiety dreams. Those are the kinds of nightmares I get. I wish I got like monster nightmares like a kid anymore, but anxiety dreams. That's what I think of. And body horror stuff, especially like teeth. Teeth stuff is always scary. You guys ever have a nightmare where like your teeth fall out? Arnell is watching from the Philippines. Hello, Arnell. Bick says, I know you mentioned the workshops are more for the spiritual component and mindset of making art, but would you say they're geared towards self-directed projects? Yes, the projects that people do in there are basically completely self-directed. I coach people through it, but I don't put any hard rails on anything, you know? I'm more interested in, it's like, I don't want to teach people how to follow my directions. I want to teach people how to follow their own directions, how to self-direct. Can the asynchronous classes be compatible with self-directed projects? Like the design fundamentals class, for example, the assignments have to specifically be used for a game inventory menu? They do, yeah. Those classes, to be asynchronous, there needs to be much more rails on the projects, or else it would just be an impossibly heavy lift for me to critique everyone's work, because just everybody's work would be completely different. And that's, in design, you have to be on the same page to give a real crit. So for many practical reasons, it would just be impossible to pull that off. So for async, for a lot of people, yes, more rails. I would not want to do that in a workshop. Workshop that's the context where I want to do much more open-ended stuff. But that's also the reason that people who are looking for a lot of structure and to be sort of, put on rails, they tend to have a harder time in workshop. The people who are hungry for open spaces and more improvisational guidance and things like that, those are the people who, it's not that they'll get the most out of workshop, because often the people who come in looking for structure discover the beauty of the structureless system in workshop. But just to say, at the beginning of workshop, the people who are hungry for that most open-ended stuff, they have less friction. It's like they're aligned with workshop going in instead of sort of figuring it out as they go. Will Work says, on the topic of projects and students, what do I do when I've completely not drawn anything for weeks mid-project, either for my project or anything else? Just get back on project, baby. That's it. Doesn't matter how long you've been gone. Just get back on project. Cry Clown Cry says, Steven, do you deliberately insert politics into your art? No. I don't remember ever, not even once, deliberately inserting politics. Maybe something like that comes through unconsciously, but never deliberately. Politics are a part of my, I find no, I've never had interest in crossing those over. I just find politics depressing, really. I don't find them inspiring or even, it's not interesting enough on the level for me to cross over with art. Like, too earthy for me. You know, the ideas that I'm interested in crossing with my art are very ethereal and things like that. Ahmed says, hi, Steven, thanks for the stream. I want to leave a factory job and earn with art, not just chase likes. For Berserk-inspired commissions, where should I focus first? Where to find clients? And what... Looks like you got cut off. But for a very specific commission desire like that, you should go to the fan base. So, I mean, it's very direct. It's like, go to the Berserk subreddit, look for one that will allow you to post such a thing, and just make a post that says, I love making artwork based on Berserk. If you'd like a commission, I'd love to work with you. It's that simple, you know. It's that simple and that complicated. The Tonga Mandapian says, what was the point where you said, hell yeah, my drawings are the sheet? I like 2017, something like that. Little Pure Water says, hello, Steven, I'm curious. Is it possible to become an artist without going to art school or college? Absolutely. Not even a question, obviously. Yeah. Senior Bob says, hey, Steven, do you know where Ahmed is? It's 10 o'clock. Do you know where Ahmed Al-Duri is? As a general rule, I'm always knowledgeable of Ahmed's precise location in the world, as a generality. I mean, to the coordinates, you know, latitude and longitude. I know exactly where he is. Am I going to tell any of you? Absolutely not. Hello, user from Russia. I miss the days when YouTube actually displayed handles instead of just user tags. Feels like TikTok in here with that. Spider Room. I'm just gonna write bugs. I've definitely, that makes me think of, I've definitely had nightmares before. It's kind of like nightmare light. It's like there'll be a cockroach in the dream and I'll wake up and think there's a real cockroach like on my pillow. Have you guys ever had that? See, this is good. You guys are, this is why I wanted to do this. You guys are reminding me of stuff that I wouldn't have thought about. Paralysis demon, sleep paralysis. That's good. I wouldn't have thought of that because I think of that as like outside of the realm of sleep. But that's good. I remember a horrifying story a friend told me years ago of that she woke up to a figure standing at the foot of her bed like a person, and she was just paralyzed with fear, and she just stared at them paralyzed until I guess she passed out again. That's a rough one. I would write that friend's name off stream to remind me of that particular story. I dreamed about an old lady that still roams my old house. Definitely houses, right? Something being off about your house. I think that's an anxiety dream. That classic dream where you're in your childhood home and you find a door you never found before. Makes me think of a book I'm reading right now, House of Leaves. For anyone who doesn't know or is wondering why I'm doing this, this is a classic way to start an illustration project, by the way. Just doing word webs like this. This method has been around forever. It's tried and tested, but it's one of the classic ways to start with writing before doing thumbnails. It's doing word webs like this. You just need to know your themes. Obviously, if you're completely, again, the problem that we talked about earlier, if you just have no idea what you're doing, if there's no direction, that kind of makes everything impossible. But if you know the themes that you're working with for something. Dreams where someone chases you, That also makes me think of when you punch really slow or run really slow. Run or punch slow. Too slow. Ghost visitation. Ghost visitation is good. Falling over and over again. Makes me think of jolting. Like when you're trying to fall asleep, you're in that liminal space. You'll like trip in a dream and you wake up kicking. Gorbard says past trauma. Yes, definitely, but that's a little specific to the individual, right? I'm looking for more archetypal stuff right now. I mean, certainly everybody has nightmares about past trauma, but it's like it would be very different depending on the trauma. Familiar house that's slightly wrong, like grandparents' house, but it's larger with more doors. Yes, something odd in your house. This is a classic. That's like, some people get those kinds of nightmares where, I don't know if there's a name for this, but instead of like you're always in a nightmare, some people get those nightmares that it always starts as a normal dream, and then there's like a trigger that makes you realize a nightmare is about to happen. It's like some subtle thing that then makes the dream cant to darkness and fear. Is there a name for those? Does anybody know if there's a name for that? Love the concept of God communicating in strange manners. We might put that in the dreams section. I think that one's more broad. I think when we do the dream word web, to me, that doesn't necessarily mean positive. It's just Not nightmares. It's like the more general aspect of dreams. Being eaten. That's an odd one. I've never had that dream. Anyone else in chat have that nightmare where they're being eaten? Kyo says, hey, Steven, this might be your greatest stream this year. I think it might be. It might just be. I lost my place here. Well, I'm way behind here. Nightmares where you get punished for something, like old school torture, like punishment. Punishments. This does make me think a lot of anxiety dreams are like school stuff. I don't know if you guys get that, but the classic dream of you realize you didn't attend a class for an entire semester. I get that anxiety dream all the time. Anxiety dreams aren't quite nightmares, right? But they're certainly not positive. Alien invasion nightmares along the lines of War of the Worlds. That one I resonate with. I never see the aliens in my nightmares, but I've many times had a nightmare where I basically know the aliens have come. I found that one. All right, aliens have come. And I'll draw a little UFO next to it. Yeah. Last night I dreamt that the door was left open and a jaguar was skulking trying to get my sister's baby. I had to scare it away. I'm gonna write family stuff. Definitely once you have kids, you care about. Nightmares can get very dark very fast when things are going wrong with your kids. This is maybe this could go either way because I think this is more neutral than nightmare, but it just has kind of dark themes. I'm gonna put how to put this. Seeing lost loved ones in dreams. I don't know if you guys get this, but I feel like that's an archetypal nightmare. Again, I think it's actually more neutral, but like, yeah, you have a dream where you're at a party or something, and then you realize, like for me, it's my dead dad, right? You realize like you're just at the party and there's a ton of people there, and then you realize like, wait, my dad's at this party. He's dead. And then you're like amazed they're alive. And then as the dream slips away, there can kind of be this crushing feeling of like, no, fuck, they're gone, they're gone. You guys know what I'm getting at? Bug larva. I do have bug stuff on there. Put a circle around bugs. Have you had the nightmare where your teeth are falling out? We've got that here, body horror, teeth. It's always like they're shattering or falling out. All right, shattering, falling out. Ugh, those dreams are nasty. You're like looking in the mirror and you're like, they're not right. And then when you touch them, like they break off. Oh, horrible. You wake up just like running your tongue over them. The only dreams I ever get is me being a home invasion victim. That sucks. I'll put that though. I feel like that's an archetypal dream. Nightmare, home invasion. This is good stuff, folks. Good stuff. Fertile grounds for some sketches on these themes. Yoink says, my sleep paralysis when I was a teen was horrid. I once woke up to someone holding my feet down. Then I woke up in my room, but it was actually a nightmare. Then I woke up again in sleep and there was just someone standing in the corner. Just horrifying layers on layers. Nomad says, Steve, I feel that having a solid fundamentals isn't enough to create something interesting. It isn't. How can I fix this? You need to begin the inward journey to find the things you're really interested in. For real. Omar says, the classic school dream of finishing grad school and realizing you haven't written your thesis. Yep. Quite a nightmare, buddy. That's in there in school stuff, anxiety dreams. School stuff, anxiety dreams. Being a lab rat. I'm way behind here. I missed a lot. Punching like you're in the pool. Yeah, I've got run or punch slow up here. Yes. All right, I'm trying to go fast here. Do you think nowadays abstaining from visual stimuli might be more beneficial for an artist? Yes, it might be. It's not. Nothing has to be permanent, but I think it's a good thing to experiment with. Looking in the mirror in a dream. Because it's all distorted. I will put mirrors. I've never had experience with that, but I could research that. That sounds interesting. A lot of good stuff here. I'm reading all the messages and all the weird dreams you guys have had. I'm just trying to pluck out the stuff that to me strikes me as like archetypal, you know, less specific, more archetypal. Oh, dark water. I've had that. I'll just put water in general. I'll know what that means. There's all sorts of nightmare associations with that. Large bodies of water are a bulwark for sleep. Child replaced by an otherling. I will put just otherlings in general because I I know that concept. I'll know what that means. Yeah, Bick says, yes, I had a recurrent dream of flunking my high school and college classes and had to retake them even though it was years after graduating. It's classic. Everybody gets those. That the school anxiety dreams are so archetypal. I saw someone in chat say that's definitely indicative of how bad school fucks us up. And it's like, it does feel like it says something that this shared experience of the school system produces the same result in so many people, right? I had dreams where I realized I've been neglecting my pets and they died. Oh, that's so sad. I've never had that one. But that sounds like it would suck. I'm going to write, even though that's specific. Neglected pets die. I'm going to link that to anxiety dreams. I think that's an anxiety dream. You're going to let things slide. War PTSD stuff is also common in former soldiers, if I remember correctly. I'm not even going to touch that one. That's their realm. I can't speak to that. I'm not even going to put that on the list. Some things are just for the people who went through it, I think. Waking up to a Steve stream at just after 6 a.m. and only a few hours sleep to see such an apt mind map. Yeah, it's got to be weird. It's got to be weird. Okay, I think we got a good start here for Nightmare. I'm going to run to the restroom and then we'll talk dreams. Think dreams, people. And that can be pretty open-ended, but just like, I think that's more like, what do dreams teach us? What questions do they arise? Just the part of dreaming that isn't nightmares. Nightmares, like, I feel that has a specific emotional cant, that it's got to be dark or scary or painful. Dreams, I don't need that to be light. I think it could just be more high-minded stuff. So I'll start with just, I'll just write consciousness and leave it there. Is that the right form of consciousness? Let's get my Elysium's nightmares are being scolded by my Slavic dad. Classic. Flying is a must. Yeah, I think that's a common dream experience, is flying. I also like I don't know if you guys have this experience, but like when you have like a superpower in a dream, I feel like it's very common to find that there's an odd mechanic to it. I think that's fun. Like I remember I had a flying dream once where I realized like to fly, all you have to do is keep jumping over and over again in the air, and that makes you fly. So it's like there's an odd mechanic linked to the power, and I think that's archetypal. I think that happens to a lot of people. So I'm gonna write odd mechanics. Though that could probably go for more than, maybe that should be its own, whatever. Okay. Dream heist. Stealing information from dream worlds. Do you have that dream? That doesn't strike me as archetypal. That sounds specific to you. That's cool. Goodbye, the Tanga. For me, flying was a bit like swimming. Yeah, that's the mechanic stuff I'm talking about. There's always something unexpected about it. Did you get to control your dreams? I've had a few lucid dreams. Let's put that on there, lucid dreams. That's a good archetype. That's linked to consciousness though. Like for me, the questions of consciousness are paramount that dreams arise. You know, you could see that you can have a totally diluted sensorium and it all feels real. Maybe diluted isn't the right word, but I get what I mean here for this exercise. Something I want to put, I don't know how to phrase this exactly, but you guys will know what I'm talking about. You know how in dreams you'll look at something like an apple, and even though there's no context in the dream just tells you like this was your grandfather's very important apple. And you just know that in the dream. So I'm gonna write like odd built-in narratives. I don't know how else to put it. Maybe I won't remember that. I'll write grandpa's apple. I'll know what that means. Dream inside a dream. That's classic. Man, it really is a whole world, right? When you start actually writing out archetypal things about dreams and nightmares, there's so much stuff. Dream context, that's a good way to put it. Dream context. And again, that really links a lot to consciousness to me, because I actually think that we're kind of secretly doing that all the time, and we don't know it, you know. Are you related to James Zapata? No. Zapata is actually a really common last name. I can name several Zapatas who work in art. There was another Steven Zapata who worked in entertainment. He unfortunately passed away, but there was another Steven Zapata. He worked at Riot Games. There's Gabby Zapata, who last I saw was over at Disney in visual development. James Zapata is a concept artist and illustrator. Jeff Zapata is the famous artist of Garbage Pail kids. There's a lot of Zapatas out there. There's more than that. That's just a few I can name off the top of my head. David Carrario says, I once dreamt I was fighting with giant golden Buddhas. Very zen. My Elysium had a dream once where I figured out how to transfer my consciousness into another person in a different time, and then I think I became God. You know, that's very specific, but you know what that makes me think of is so this can't be true for everybody, but I'll ask you guys. How many of you have you ever had a dream that you're not in? Now, for the people, I think for a lot of people, they'll be like, how would that even work? But I think there is people out there who, when I say that, they'll know the distinction and they'll be like, I have had dreams that I'm not in. And apparently that's quite rare. So I'm going to put here, dreams you're not in. Again, link to consciousness. I remember a dream I was in a very large space with many of those church windows with designs. I forget the name. That's archetypal. I think very large spaces. I dream of very large spaces all the time, of all sorts. The last one I had was I was in a very large atrium on a cruise ship. People saying, I did have that dream. I was an invisible spectator. I dream I'm a woman sometimes, like a past life kind of thing. No, so that's different. I should have made that distinction. I'm not talking about dreams where you're not you, like you're not your daytime identity, Stephen. I'm not talking about dreams where you're a different person. I'm talking about dreams where, you're an invisible spectator. The dream is just unfolding and there is no sense that you are an agent in it, whether that agent is your waking you or some alternate identity. That's a different thing, the alternate identities thing. I'm talking about you're not in the dream. You're watching something unfold. And I see that, yes, there's some people who are just the invisible spectator. I think that's interesting, on the consciousness side again, and, given, you guys know what I'm into and my interests and all that, but like that's interesting to me on a no self level of analysis, I think it's interesting that in dreams, sometimes we find ourselves in a context where agency is not implied, where it's just things happening and sort of we're not there. TB says, what are we doing? Looks interesting. We're doing some word mapping for some art that we got to make. I'm participating in a book that I can't say too much about, I don't think, but I want to put together, I'm going to have some work that already is done in this book because it fits the thematics as I understand them. But whenever I get a chance, I also like to make some new stuff. It's just always nice to have a deadline, things to push against, themes to play with. So I'm trying to put together a few little new things for the book. That's all I could say about it right now. I'd have to know I could talk about it in more detail. I don't want to piss anybody off or anything like that. That's funny. My Elysium says, after I got an ultra-wide monitor, I got a dream where my vision was also ultra-wide. That's weird. That's a new one on me. Lunarine says, I think it's interesting how dreams can repeat physical memory things, like learning to knit and then dream about accurate knitting while something unrelated is happening. I do like that. The doing, I don't know how to generalize it, but like, I don't know, doing hobbies, doing skills, body stuff. I used to have dreams where I was just using Photoshop. Those sucked. I never liked those. Those were almost nightmares. Those were almost nightmares. Where does sleep paralysis fit in here? I have it on the nightmare sheet. It's over here. Nightmares is kind of, we're going more specific on that, and then this is just more general dreams and their qualities. Somehow dreams that are not nightmares are much harder to describe than nightmares. Yeah, I get, knowing me, I think I'm going to lean more towards the nightmare stuff personally, just because, you've all seen my work and stuff like that. I had a dream where I throw hands with Da Vinci because he says my art sucks. That's funny, but thank you for saying that because that reminds me of a dream I have very often. So I'm going to write here this is why I wanted to talk to you guys about this. You're bringing so much stuff to mind. Someone else's art/sketchbook dream. I've had this dream many times. A friend or a rival in the dream shows me their sketchbook or a piece, and in the dream, I am overcome by jealousy of how amazing the piece is. And there's a whole arc to that in the dream, and it drives me crazy. And then when I wake up, I have to remember, I made that piece. It wasn't them. I've had that dream so many times. I don't know how I would capture that in a drawing, but that's just fun to think about. I had that a lot I had that dream a lot in college when I was really, life was much more comparative and about building up the skills and comparing myself to others. But, yeah, it's just so vivid, It's like it's really happening. You're seeing their sketchbook, they're flipping through it. You're like, God damn it, fuck. It's so good. This can't be. I'm so behind. You're just feeling all those feelings. And then they show you a painting and you're like, oh, dude, what's just some people? That's crazy. How could they just have that in their head? And then you wake up and it's like, it was all in my head. You can even remember the piece sometimes, It's very funny. Is flying or floating there? Yeah, we have flying in here. It's hiding there. I gave myself a phone in a dream so I could take photos. That's funny. What if my sleep paralysis is really nice and handsome, though? That's an incubus. Omar says, there's fun in when you start dreaming in another language. If you're learning that language, or even if you're just in a country where you don't speak the language, but it sneaks in, that's good. All right, other languages. You know, I never dream in Spanish, ever. I can't remember a single time. Thank you, concept. Sleepwalking, I'll put sleepwalking. Maybe that's a different thing, but I think it counts. Nobody says, my mother told me she used to have a very abstract recurring dream about buzzing yellowness, promising to give her all the knowledge in the world. That's a weird one. That is weird. Dreams with popular people. That is archetypal. It's not really, I don't think I've ever had that, but I've discussed a lot of people's dreams with them where that's in it. I'll say popular / celebrities. They do show up. Kyo says, I've never had a dream with art or drawing, I think, ever. It's very rare for me. I'm almost never making art in a dream. When I used to have those Photoshop nightmares, it was more like, I say it specifically as I'm using Photoshop. I'm not making art. It's like the menus are there, the panels in there, and usually in the dream I'm fixated on doing a technical Photoshop move, not drawing, you know? And yeah, probably the closest thing that I get to dreams about art is that one that I mentioned about looking through a rival's sketchbook. That's really as far as it goes. I've never find myself like drawing or painting in dreams. I think that there's something about making art that it's like it's already fulfilling a dream quality or something like that. So maybe your brain is less inclined to dream about it. I don't know. I'm reading everything. It's all good stuff. Like I said, I'm just trying to pluck out stuff that resonates to me personally as like archetypal and less particular. I wonder why some people have recurring dreams and some almost never have the same dream twice. I'm kind of already filtering this through the lens of recurring, but it's probably worth it to just put it on the list on its own. Because you can have particular recurring dreams too, right? So is there an O in recurring? I'm just going to write recurring dreams. Is it reoccurring? Is it R-E-O occurring? Or is it like that? Waking up from a dream and falling asleep back into the same dream. Dream continuity. Ooh, I like that. I do that a lot. I'm just going to write trying to go back in. Because it's not just it happening. I have the experience of I'm often trying. You're having like a really good dream, or it's either just a very pleasant dream, or sometimes a dream feels like this epic saga. I often have these epic saga dreams where it's like just the story's really long, even if it's not that epic. And you often get pulled out right at the climax, like right before it's finally gonna happen. The thing, the invasion's gonna happen, or you're finally gonna, storm the mansion that you and your friends were gearing up to get into and all that. And then right before you're gonna do it, you wake up. And I often have the experience of like, come on, after all that, like, I want to please let me see the ending. I want to know what happens. I try to go back in. That's definitely a reoccurring experience. And Buzzaglow just said, dreams that end right before the climax. Yeah, that's a thing. That is the thing. Did you have teeth falling out? I recently had a dream my tattoos were disappearing. Ooh, I don't have any tattoos. I've never had the tattoo thing, but that makes sense. The teeth is on the nightmare list. Teeth shattering, falling out. We've got that on the nightmare sheet. Hi, Colin. And we're having such a good time with these word webs that I don't know if I'll get to sketch today because I got to get off in like 15 minutes. Had to be a fast one today. Just so people know, I am trying to make stream weekly, once a week. I just haven't quite settled on a day. I know there's been periods where I stream way more, but now that I got the kiddo, I don't really see how we can do it, but I don't want to stop completely. I love streaming, so I'm going to try to do once a week, and I want to just have it be the same day every week. But I still got to figure out when. I think probably the evening, and maybe I think Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. Anyway, I'll let you know when I finally pick. Daryl says, that's what happened to me with the dream of discovering the gravitron. Dude, it's so, that is an archetypal experience. Trying to go back into the dream. Oh, it's so frustrating. What about the sadness you feel when you wake up after a good dream and you realize you don't have what you dreamed about? Yeah. I was talking about it in the nightmare one, but the thing I feel that most potently with is the lost family member dream. That's hard. Dreaming about people that you've lost and like you hear their voice again and your brain is so good at, it's weird. In my waking life, I have a very difficult time like visualizing these people if I try, right? I have a really good visual, I can visualize very well, but I can't, I can't quite recall their face just right or how they emoted or their voice, right? And then every now and then you'll just be gifted one of these dreams, but your mind in the dream world is very good at doing it. At least mine is. It's like, it's them. It looks like them. They're emoting right. It's their voice again, And then that's why it's so bittersweet. It's like, it hurts when you wake up and you realize, and it's like, okay, they're gone again. It's like a little tiny soft version of the hurt again, but it's also nice. It's also nice that you got to see them again. It's very sweet in a way. Yeah, it's very bittersweet. I should put that on the list because I was talking about the distinction between dreams you're not in, related to that, but not the same thing as dreams where you're someone else. Buzzaglow says, I've been wanting to start a dream journal. You should do it. I remember when I was really young, I tried to keep one for a while. It wasn't very long. I think I was trying to learn how to lucid dream. It didn't really work. I've had a bunch of lucid dreams in my life, but always random. That's funny, Gorobard. The distorted version of the mall that's huge with the body horrors, that's good. Huge spaces, definitely archetypal. I have that on here, very large spaces. Oh, that's so funny. Grism says, I had this happen once. I dreamt I woke up, stretched my arms, and accidentally pushed my glass to the floor and broke it. I immediately woke up for real. I stretched my arms and the same thing happened. That's odd. Dreams about being successful. I think we could put that. I think that's pretty archetypal. I don't have too many like career dreams, but I think I get what you're talking about. Dreams about making music. I never remember the melody when I wake up. Maybe not just about music, but just this is archetypal. What would you call this? It's like not remembering things you just learned in the dream. Like it's slipping away as you wake up. It's like it's like the same thing as like when you're really high and you have an insight and you're like, oh my God, that's it. Like that's the secret to the universe. And then as you come down, like even while you're still high, 10 seconds later, you're like, why did that make sense at all? What the fuck was it? You know, you can't get it back. Not being able to speak. I'm going to put that on the nightmare list associated with running or punching. So just being incapacitated somehow. You can't run, you can't strike, you're not strong, you can't speak. Put that on the nightmare list. Screaming with no lips. I have no mouth and I must scream. Well, I lost my place. Are you going to post these webs on the Discord? I wasn't planning on it. I mean, these are for, you guys are helping me farm thematics and ideas for some sketches that I want to do. If you want to take screenshots for yourself, if this is inspiring to you or you want to do some sketches, go on. Take a screenshot of that. Take a screenshot of that. Or just watch the VOD. Places you know, but they're different in illogical ways. Yeah, I think we have the root of that in nightmares. Something odd about your house. A place that you're very familiar with and you find a new door or the rooms are out of sequence, things like that. Speaking with entities, that's archetypal. We could put that. I don't get that, but That's very common. Cynocephalus, what you said, we have that as dream context somewhere here. Yeah, here, dream context. That you have innate knowledge of things or people in that world, even if it's completely made up. Yeah. Dreams warning about something in your future. Yeah. We can put that as premonitions. Dreams have to be top 5 human experiences. Oh my God, I think they're so interesting. You know, I'm not like a dream interpreter or anything. Some people like to try to interpret dreams and stuff like that. I have no interest in that. I just love them in the matter of fact way and the crazy questions that they raise about consciousness and things like that. I find sleep and dreams very interesting, and I think that it calls a lot of our common sense assumptions about consciousness into question. I mean, they're totally undermining, the fact that it all feels real. It's also hyper vivid and real, and it's just you're just asleep and the sensorium is deprived of input and it can just make it up. It's people have talked about this forever, but it never ceases to amaze me. David Cario says, this is not related to the topic, but Stephen, did you see the controversy with the Divinity dev team with AI? I heard a little bit of it, but then I think I heard that, I heard the beginning, that the CEO had said in like an interview that they were using AI for some pitch stuff internally or something like that. But then I think that he did like a AMA or something. Am I wrong? He did like an AMA to respond to the outrage, and I never tracked that. So I wouldn't really want to talk about it too much, having not heard how he addressed it and what he clarified, because I'm sure there was a lot more information there. All right, I'm speed reading all this, but I'm going to have to say we're good on dreams and nightmares, but that's just because I've got I got to get out in like 5 minutes. Things to do, business to attend to. Well, let me see if anything else pops out. I'm going to read everything. Do you think AI will have a long-term effect on its users' dreams? I don't know. I really don't know. Joe says, my partner says she has dreams that look like AI. That's disturbing. That is disturbing. Buzzaglow, I think your question got auto-modded. At least it shows me that. He said, I know when I consume a lot of weird art, it really affects my dreams. Speaking with a hallucination machine all day must mess you up. I'm just reading. I saw that it got auto-modded for some reason, but I don't know what that is. You're fine. That message is fine. Just in case you got a notification about that and you're like, what the fuck? Yeah, dreams that she says look like AI. That upsets me. Isn't falling in love in a dream normal? Nobody's talking about it? I don't think I've ever fallen in love in a dream. It's not normal for me. Jacobo says, do you think consciousness is a product of the brain or is it something more fundamental? That's a good question. Well, I mean, obviously it's a good question. It's the question. For me, I'm comfortable saying I really don't know. I'm very agnostic about it. I think about it all the time. It could be a product of the brain. The question is, what is the brain? Panpsychism is an interesting concept. Some people think that consciousness is just in the ether and the brain is a sort of antenna tuning to it. I think that we are so far from having a grasp on what consciousness is in general that, to me, literally everything seems kind of viable, for real. I mean, it feels like we are still just babies when it comes to trying to answer that question. As a generalization, the one thing that I do think about a lot in that vein is, as the Buddha said, that even consciousness is an empty phenomena contingent on factors. I do find that to be true. That would be true if it's the product of the brain. There, it's more, that comes off more prosaic. It's almost like, well, if it's the product of the brain, then yes, it's contingent on phenomena. But it's more vexing even if it turns out that it is more fundamental, right? That even that would be an empty phenomenon that's contingent on things. If it's like a foundational force or something like that, that would be very strange, you know? If it's still, you know, to realize that it's still contingent, you know? Predict the future, yeah, we have that as premonitions. Nonsense, uncanny AI dreams. That's upsetting. You all right? Yep. All right. I think we're good there for now. I will farm you guys for more little mind proddings. But I appreciate it. Thanks for helping me think through nightmares and dreams. This is good stuff. And you guys did help me remember a lot of fun dream experiences and archetypal things, just like I was hoping. Thank you, folks. That was a blast. I thought I would have time to start sketching, reacting to some of this stuff, but I think I'm going to have to head out. The word webbing took a while, but that was a blast. That was a real blast. Yeah, for anyone who's never seen this exercise before, like I said, this is a classic way to start on an illustration project. Words are a great place to begin in general. You know, you keep the pictures out of it for a while. You know, pictures are very, very concretizing, actually. Like, it's always good to start with some writing. And then from here, let this simmer, let this percolate in the unconscious, and then start thumbnailing after doing some writing like this. You guys know that my art, when I deal with a theme, I don't really deal with it very literally. Like, I'm not expecting, for example, that I would try to make a straightforward illustration of something being odd in my house, and then that's the sketch of this concept. No, I farm this stuff for feelings and emotions, and then I look to go a layer under and see what I can find a layer under, you know? So I wouldn't try to be too literal about these things, but instead find some through lines and let it sort of weave together naturally. I always trust that if I just think about these things a lot and really align myself with them and become curious and interested, if I then just sketch freely, the sketches will naturally speak to the themes, you know? I trust that the unconscious mixes things up like that. Jesus the Comeback says, we should talk again about dreams and nightmares. Very fun. Yeah, again, just even outside of the illustration task, I find the notion of dreams and like the facts of dreaming, the science of dreaming, I find it all very interesting. Very, very interesting. I mean, like, did you guys catch wind? It was a couple years ago, but they did do, as far as I remember when I looked into this was legit, but they did do like a scientific study where they trained people to communicate from their dreams, and it really worked. Like I forget the process. If you read it, I wish I could go into detail about it now, but if you're interested, go look it up. The process was kind of crazy, but they taught people how to communicate with the researchers from REM by like moving their eyes in particular directions while they were asleep. The researchers would like ask them questions, and then they would react to it. Very particular kinds of questions, and it was all very sciencey, right? If you've ever looked into studies, they always have to do careful things to make sure that like things aren't being misunderstood and things like that. But the subjects could communicate from their dreams, even if they didn't remember they did it when they woke up from the dream. I mean, that's crazy to think about, you know? And who knows where that science could go. But, you know, it's a very rudimentary thing, you know, it's just them doing actual choreographed eye movements to basically say to the researchers, I hear you, I'm here, you know, while their brainwaves are being monitored and it's clear they are in REM, they are fully asleep. Who knows where that could go? You know, could we find a technology or something like that to have a more clear, full-on conversation with someone who's in REM? Could you make them go lucid by doing that? Could you keep them in a dream? Would that basically become like perfect dream VR and you could do stuff in there? Could you do exposure therapy, train for things in there? Like, is stuff like that possible? Could it be possible? I don't know. It opens up a lot of questions. So anyway, it was a while ago, but check out, if you're interested, just go Google that. I'm sure it'll pop up. But yeah, that was a very interesting study. All right, everybody. I'm going to head out. Goodbye to Jesus the Comeback. Goodbye to Where Are You? Why Are You Here? Goodbye to Bick. Goodbye to Huron Surmer. Goodbye to Shane. Shady on Fire. Ray Films. Reynola Dominguez. Grissom. Baraka. Frank Williams Art. Canoe. Nobody. Daryl Grant. A25 Zero Tank. And Froggy. Goodbye, everybody. Thanks for hanging out. And I will see you all again very soon. And thank you again for free associating with me. Goodbye.